Okay, well, we're making lanterns, and this is the fourth blank of these. I glued up a bunch of boards, 26 by 26, pretty much. Just didn't square them up or anything, screwed them down, and that let me a little room on the sides to put that. I made them a little wider so that I could use my 1/4 inch bit for the cutouts, and that way I didn't break so many bits, and so that seems to be working out pretty good there. Looks like one of my cutouts didn't cut out there, so I'll have to figure out what's going on with that, but anyway, I've got extras of those. Anyway, I was working on this, and I got a new router with a new collet, and I put in one of the cheap $18 carbide end mills in my collet. That thing broke inside the collet jaws. It broke down inside the jaws of that, which I was kind of aggravated, but it was a brand new bit from, I think it was it's a Menards brand, EMT or something like that, but it's a solid carbide bit. So I'm probably going to stay away from them a little bit, because that broke in there and it lost me about an hour and a half's worth of work. So anyway, we're getting to that point. Of course, she's full of dust, and I need to clean that out, and we'll get her cleaned out and then take the parts out and see where we're at. Let's get to it. Okay, I vacuumed the top part of that off, and down there on the ground, I don't know, there's probably enough dust down here maybe to fill into a bottle cap or something. That's about it. So fortunately, no dust in the rest of the shop. It all was kept in that, and put in the dust deputy over there, and then down into that barrel. And of course, I'm bending outside, and so there we go. Don't look to me like I'm bending outside. Yep, bending outside. Anyway, so the dust control's down. Yeah, so pretty well clean. Just a little bit of a touch up with that. We'll be good to go. Alright, other 12 are in there. So I'm going to add these extra 4 in here, and I made an extra 3. Actually, probably 3 extra will be for extras, and then just the parts that I needed from the extra ones. So I went ahead and made 4 at a time. This is glued up from all them boards, and it wasn't a perfect glue up. Had a little bit of stuff in there, but this will all sand out. And I've got to, of course, do these parts in here. And then this part cut out where it didn't cut out is because I just did the cutouts. And this is a separate tool path that I had them going. And so I didn't cut that. I'll cut that out with a bandsaw. Anyway, there we go. Let's get this disassembled and get ready to do some part work. Alright, well, I was jigged up, making all kinds of stuff happen. This is a jig that I used to make the handles, the hoops for the lanterns. And coming around here, this is a little jig that I used for cutting the little squares on the end of the deal. And then this is a jig I used for drilling the end tenons. And here are my pieces. I had some of them that came out pretty good, and some of them didn't come out as good as others. But a bunch of them. And then I've got a box full over there. I'm ready to do. lot of fun with these jigs. Generally, I make my jigs just a little bit oversized. A lot of times I'll put in a piece of shim stock in there on the sides, and then basically we go in between the cam and the piece there, and then they're going right in here as well. And sometimes it's easier than not. So then I just use the toggles and generally put equal pressure on both sides, kind of center them up. And this pretty well does fine for the V bit. And this is carved in the logs in there. And it basically holds it down. Then of course I have it centered, going off the center of the jig. But then I can put text in there as well. For example, these are some lanterns that I'm making for my own kit. And that's my FCF name and just the date of when I put it in there. And so I'm making 4 lanterns for that. Anyway, the jigs are nice. We'll screw them down with a screw and hold them in place. And then, of course, the toggles, they go down in there a little bit into the screw. So I'm done with these pieces here. And basically, you just run them back and forth, pull it out, and then your piece is carved. And the important part about jig work is that all your pieces are the same thickness, and they're all designed to, be in, the same size, same thickness. So they just go into jigs easier and that kind of thing. Talk about another jig. This is a jig over here that does it cuts these holes for the bracket. This is these 2 holes right here where my fingers are moving. They allow for a wire baling to go inside there, and there's the lantern there and the little baling over there on that side. But anyway, they'll fit down inside there, and then they have an exit hole on the bottoms of the lantern. And so when they go through there, if you get any grass or anything, it'll be a self-cleaning type of a deal. Anyway, I put them in there so they're going cross grain. So if you put it the other way, then it'll be going with the grain. You can have a possibility of a split in it. So that comes in there, and then I use the drill with the guide, and it drills down through there like that, through that hole right there, and then comes out through the sides and the bottom. And that works out pretty good. I just need to lightly sand them up a little bit and get them going. But that's a little bit of a jig right there that just clamps to the table. Put the face in there. I always write on there the face. Seem to always ruin one of them before I get carried away, so I use my pieces that are kind of hacked and get them in there. So I'll generally do that first. And then this jig over here, this is a multi-purpose jig. This one cuts the length of the lantern risers in there. It also cuts all these little guys by just sitting there taking a 1/4-inch dowel and running them up in there, and it'll cut them. If you try and do it, they'll go flying all through the shop and everything. So I'll just generally do a long deal right here and hold it and twist it and then cut them. And then there's enough here to do 16 lanterns, and they're about 1.25 inches. And I've got some out of the typical dowel stock that come from Lowe's, down to the cedar and walnut and oak. And so I have some pieces that I've made, and I recycled, or not recycled, but I used a lot of the junk stuff that would be burnt up and turn it into dowels, and I'll put it up there and store it. These dowels right here were all cut in a jig, and they come from stock. So made quite a few of them and that kind of a deal. So, but these jigs, they're set up to where they just fit like in a saw, and open, put a clamp, set it in place, so there's no reconfiguring anything. And then this particular one right here will cut this right here, and it cuts that shoulder. Then I'll turn it and hit that shoulder, and that keeps it from splitting out so bad. If you don't do that, it'll just split out all over the place, and especially with the walnuts. And You just turn it, and of course my hand's in the wrong deal because I'm trying to take a picture of it. But anyway, that's what that does. And I did have some issues with my spindles. I'm trying to figure out, I lost one of the axes on my CNC while I'm doing this, so I'm not sure what happened, but that hole is located a little bit different than that hole. And I'm trying to figure out just exactly what happened. These are all the same, and these are all the same. So I'm trying to see what's going on with that. Then this guy right here is the matchbox, and they were cut out. This fits on the bottom of the lantern up in here, and then this goes on top, and then I've got to put a piece on the bottom to hold these in, and then this part will pivot out so that you can get the tins out of it. So I haven't really worked that out just yet, but I'm working on it, and we'll get that figured out. Kind of developing that as I go. So, and then when you're of course assembling your lanterns, a dowel punch, just something that you can tap dowels in with is really nice. A little bar clamps is really handy for getting things to fit. Rubber mallet, sometimes you don't want to beat on them too much, and then pair of pliers to reach in and pull some of them out. But anyway, that's going good. Of course, this is the piece that does the old Frankenstein here that does the verticals. Let me just go ahead and pull this thing out of here. And they fit. Yeah. Okay. And they fit right up in here like this. All right. This is where it's engaged. It's got these things to keep it from going down. Like I said, I used a cut bit on this, and so it was pulling them out, and so that was frustrating. So I went ahead and I could have used a downcut bit and probably would have solved that problem. But anyway, I just glued on a little keeper on here, and they basically will slide out of the way on the flat. And you just glue them up through the flat of the piece, and they clear out of the way there so you can get your piece in and out. And then you pull your piece out and put in another one. And well, the first part of this, what the purpose for this jig is as it's drilling all these holes, it drills the round holes, and it drills the first slot. So then this one that puts in the second slot that goes in here and goes down inside that. So that's kind of what that does. And of course, this is the wire bale, and it basically, you put a straight piece of wire in there, welding rod, and it's generally copper welding rod. You wrap it around there, and then you use a bar clamp across here, and it pulls these in, and it creates a bale that fits into the holes in these lanterns. And this is kind of my design, or a little bit different takeoff of the design that I use. But that's the design there. And what that does is that fits inside the holes there. Let me go ahead and just get it. A couple seconds later, it just slips inside there, and that allows the lantern to be lifted up and carried at the right height to keep your hands from getting burnt by the flame. And you can also put this up against the wall like this, and the lantern will stand plumb with the wall, or it'll hang just right. So multifaceted, multi-use, and that's what this guy right here, that's what this thing does right here. And it creates these, and then of course I have to bend them at a 90 degree and then cut them off with a Dremel. So that's pretty much all of the tools that I've got going on. Lots of jigs going on. And then this guy right here is like a tinder box for like candle lighting. These are just slide-in secrets boxes, and the lids, they basically slide like this, and this will come out. There'll be a candle and a flint and steel in there. So that's kind of a new thing that I'm adding to the kit. And of course this fits on the bottom of these, and then the posts that come through there fit down through there. And I don't have them perfectly figured out just yet, but they do fit, and the posts of the lantern fit down inside there, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to work on those a little bit. I'm only going to put like 4 lanterns in each kit, and one of them will have the matchbox for tinder lighting. So once you get one candle lit, you can light the rest of them. So that'll be kind of the extra thing. And then I've got to create a box to house these all in. And what I'm going to do is create 4 boxes. I'll probably make them out of a piece of ply. I may use that thing up right there for that. And I think that's a 5/8 inch piece of plywood, just to get it out of my shop. And that will create a nice solid box for the lanterns, to protect them while they're in storage and transit. Half the time when you're dealing with this stuff, you get glass breaking out of it. This was a lantern that I created probably 8 years ago or 10 years ago. This is one of the first ones. These are a little bulkier than the new ones that I'm making. A little bit of difference. This one doesn't have the air holes in it. This had us a piece of glass that slid up in a slot, but the only problem with that is it had a weakness, because this was all cut out, and this was the only place where this was keeping together, and so the glass would slide all the way through it. And so as I changed it, would do that. But also through the years, I've just had several lanterns that the glass broke out of it. So I'm going to set that up to where I've got room for that, and get that going. Of course, these new lanterns, the dowels are a little shorter and not as bulky, but they come out just fine, and they look good. So anyway, that's what's going on. And I generally document on my jigs, how to use this, because I forget. I mean, a year or two goes by, 3 or 4 years, and I don't know. So the face of the lantern goes in here. Of course, the cross grain, and when I'm cutting them, they go in there. And then basically after planing the rails, cut a curve to keep the central split out after a tenon is cut. I did this in 2020. It's now 2024, and that's when I made this. So it's kind of fun. I just reused the jigs for that, and this was made in 2009 for this bending jig. This is probably made, it doesn't really have a date. There's a date right there. Loose. It says loose. So, landing groove jigs, CNC jigs. But anyway, so there you go. Lots of fun and creativity to get her done. Well, say I started off to make 12 of these, and of course right off the bat I started losing parts. I've actually made 16, or cut out 16, and I've got 14 kits that are out of this. And you get things that happen to it. It'll split out or break out. You'll get a cold piece, something a little lift on it. You'll get a split on some of this stuff. So you pick out your culls and you do the best with what you got. So my target was 12, and after the 12th, I figure I've done pretty good. If I get an extra 1 or 2, then I put them in kit form. A lot of these I'll just leave them in kit form. I've got to finish sand them with some sandpaper, like some 220, and I'll get them sanded down to that. I did lose on part of my axis. I was losing my axis, and you can see on some of these holes where I was losing some of the axis. They're not perfectly round, and I lost a cable on my CNC, and it was going open. And so in the process of that, I did lose some of it, and I was looking at the holes going, what the heck was going on with that? They're oblong, they're not perfectly round. Well, the cable that controls the stepper motor was causing it to do weird stuff, And then, of course, I found out very soon that it wasn't controlling it the way it needed to be controlling it. So I had some issues with this cut. I had a blades breaking, bits breaking inside the collet. It was one of these that was new. I don't know if it's just a one bad bit, but anyway, I'm gonna start watching those and that kind of thing. So that was really the only bit that I did break. So it came out pretty good. I did use tight bond wood glue for all the glue joints, and the little brush for my glue table. This is a silicone brush, and just keep your glue up to about the height of the bristles, and man, you can dab it on fast without much of a mess. And then I also enjoyed the glue clamps, racks. Keep them parallel, and you can get a lot of gluing done with that. I did create this as a stop, and I need to modify this so I can move this in and out, because right now it's in the way. But an easy way of fixing it is just to put a piece of blank wood in here, and that doesn't. But I do need to modify this to get what I need done. So there we go. I do like how that works, though. And there we go. I'm about done with all of the jigs. I'll probably put them back into my jig holder box. And I put all my jigs in this box here and keep them all in one same, because there's so many of them. And they're 3D, so I will put them together and put them together like that. So there we go. And there's the shop. So let's get organized. Okay, I'm using all I'm using is just plain old varnish that comes from Helmsman varnish, spar varnish. Helmsman's, I'm thinning it about 10 to 15%. It's really hot and humid today, so I'm thinning it just a little bit more. And then I'm cleaning with mineral spirits. Soak the gun in there between waiting for it to dry. This is what I'm using, is just a little Harbor Freight it's about a 3.75 CFM deal, and I'm powering it with a little cobalt Quack Tech, and it actually does fine for what I'm doing. It's what's it say there? 1.6 cubic feet per minute at 90 psi. And that actually does keep up with it. Of course, I'm a hobbyist, and I'm not spraying it as fast as I can spray it, or as long. So I'll generally give it a spray. I can do about twice as much as this with that gun. And anyway, it helps them in spar varnish. It's going on good. And I'm going to give this, I generally start with the good side down and just spray a coat over the bottom, and then hit it with a couple coats. Then I'll turn it over and put the good side up, and then hit that. And the little nails or screws in here don't seem to be making any effect. I'm going out of my way not to spray the tenons, because when they go in there and they're got some finish on them, it can be a real pain to try and get them to fit. So try and keep your finish off of your tenons. And these all dry fit as they were. So if they're not dry fitting, then you put too much finish on the tenons. So all right, and there we go there. I'm just finishing the 4 that I'm doing here. The rest of these are going to go into a kit form, and if they want them, then they can sand on them a little bit and get them to fit close and tight. So I'll put them in a little Ziploc bag and set them up, and that way they'll have some fun with them. All right, I got 2 coats of Helmsman on them, and I went ahead and stuck the deals in there while it's still a little bit sticky, so that they would sit in there. Everything's been turned and checked over for runs. I have quite a bit of running and dripping on this, so I had to basically run a brush over them and clean them up. These are all in pretty good shape, so going good. Ready to let them dry up and then assemble them maybe tomorrow.